Hello, everybody.
Hi, Bernhard. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Really exciting to join you today
Oh,
and talk about social impact using blockchain.
absolutely. So it's an honor to introduce you. Bernhard Kowatsch, is that how you pronounce your last name, Kowatsch?
That's fine. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. He's the head of the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator. And many of you probably well know that the World Food Program has recently been awarded the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize for their work fighting world hunger. Truly the honor of a lifetime. So congratulations for that. Bernhard's Innovation Accelerator team has been implementing projects using blockchain technology for several years now, and we're very honored to have him here today. So I'll hand it to you, Bernhard.
Well, thank you so much. And it's a really great pleasure to also talk about the cause of fighting hunger, ending hunger, and how that relates to technology and how technology like blockchain can actually help in this realm towards ending hunger. And let me also share my screen because I've prepared a couple of slides that we can use just to elaborate this. Now, we are so thrilled still about the Nobel Peace Prize award that the World Food Program has received, specifically because it puts the 690 million hungry people back onto the global visibility, with everything else that's going on. And I'm just 690 million people are still suffering from hunger. It's 1 in 11 people worldwide don't have enough to eat, so that on a daily basis, they just don't have enough calories to live a healthy life. Now, what is the problem with that? Well, actually, when we look into the last, 30 years even, we are actually making progress. So from 1990, with almost 1 billion people that were suffering from hunger, it came down. And unfortunately, the last 5 years, the number of hungry people is again increasing. And the root causes for that are conflict, climate change, and most recently, unfortunately, COVID-19. And it's actually really, really severe circumstances also. So we do need to reverse that recent trend to tilt that curve towards zero. So we're seeing that if we do nothing, if we just continue the way we are currently approaching this, we might see an increase up to 840 million hungry people by 2030. And the Sustainable Development Goal is to get towards zero. And it's possible. There is enough food on the planet right now for everybody to live a healthy life. And so this is essentially the mission where both the World Food Program comes in and also the Accelerator. So the World Food Program, if some of you who are watching this, if you don't know, it's the UN's leading agency, saving lives in emergencies, but also changing lives, through school meals programs, mother and child nutrition, and we're also the logistics backbone of the United Nations for a lot of the COVID response, flying in PPEs and a couple of these things. Our journey as Innovation Accelerator then has been started 5 years ago with a specific focus to try to identify, support, and scale high impact startups and innovations. And for us, this really means we have a 5-step journey that goes from, we have a small frontier innovations team, identifying these innovations. We run 1 week high intensity training programs we call boot camps, then a sprint program where we provide up to $100,000 of equity-free funding, so it's grant funding also for startups, and then with the best ones are supported in scaling, and by now we're also running external programs for several external partners and clients like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Humanitarian Grant Challenge, and others. And I don't want to belabor any of the details, but what has been our success so far, actually, the scaling innovation that you saw on the last slide is right now in scaling. Up until now, they have these innovations have positively impacted the lives of 2 million people already in 2020. And one of them is actually using blockchain. It's building blocks that provides cash transfers to refugees in particular. And I want to spend a moment just talking, because we are talking about blockchain, why would an organization like the World Food Program actually use blockchain? Well, the basic idea of building blocks was, we need to make sure that we are more efficient, more more secure and more collaborative in our approaches with other UN agencies, other NGOs. And the basic idea, and this actually building blocks, Human Haddad, who was the project manager and is the manager of this, he actually first submitted the idea to our Accelerator program, ran through a one-week training program, the Innovation Bootcamp, and then started to first test with 100 people in Pakistan, then 10,000 people in Jordan, and then quickly it scaled to 100,000 people serving Syrian refugees in Jordan. And by now it has recently expanded to reach a total of 700,000 people. And it's used to transfer millions of dollars of cash transfers to people, so they can actually go to a store and either they authenticate themselves with an iris scan or with a essentially like a smart card with a QR code on it now in Bangladesh. And the basic vision of building blocks is here, where there is humanitarian organizations are linked together through a neutral blockchain network to optimize and harmonize assistance globally. And if there are questions about like how does it exactly work, why, and so on, I'm happy to also answer this in like if anybody has questions. Is working on a private Ethereum blockchain, and we see a lot of benefits, including like in the current system we save 98% of the banking fees, but it's actually about the collaboration, making it a better service for the people that we are serving through it. So if they go to a shop and purchase food, that more it's a better service to them. I'll mention two other quick innovations just to show also the breadth of the innovation that we're working on. One is what we call blocks for transport. It's actually supply chain innovation that's being piloted from the port of Djibouti into Ethiopia. Where right now the whole journey time is taking anywhere between 10 and 12 days, and in future it could take maybe 3 to 5 days. And where does this come from? It's a classic use case for blockchain, where because there's a mismatch of trust between different stakeholders, and like what's the motivation of somebody actually sharing, like if you're a forwarding agent, like your capacity, where your truck is, when you will arrive at the port, and to avoid congestion at like border crossings, for instance. Now, by digitizing shipping documents and bill of lading, and by making the supply chain smoother, we believe that we can actually get there. And this is something that we are currently piloting in Ethiopia. And like just another project that I want to highlight, most recently we started a pilot with an NGO called Producers Direct in Peru, where we are looking at the kind of farm to fork digitization on blockchain, with a specific focus on providing the smallholder farmers with the visibility of the profits, but also the ability of financial inclusion in that. So with this, just want to say, if anybody has innovative startup ideas, NGOs, startups, companies, everybody can apply on our website, innovation.wfp.org. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Bernhard. What a wonderful and inspiring presentation. We're so happy to have you here. So let's see. Do we have any questions for Bernhard? I'm looking in the chat, but there's a lot of messages here. Let's see. I don't think we have any questions for Bernhard. Does anyone we have a couple minutes, we can ask him about their work with blockchain. I'm pretty excited about your Nobel Peace Prize award. That is like just so exciting. So, well, we have a couple minutes. Would you like to share anything with us about what maybe has changed at World Food Program since you've received the Nobel Peace Prize? I think it's probably turned the whole world upside down over there.
Yeah, no, we still cannot believe this. It's like, I think since when this was announced, essentially, like I actually was in a meeting with other colleagues, and like my phone started like receiving messages and like stuff like that, where it's like I think we're seeing so much support from existing partners who are like saying, like it's so great, like really the recognition of the work that we've been doing, and with so many others who are reaching out and say like, like that now they hear about like what the World Food Program actually does, like providing life-saving food assistance like in conflict zones. So whenever you see like like it can be in Syria, in Yemen, like in conflicts, that we actually, like, the colleagues are on the ground and like helping people. So for us, it really has been a flurry of activities and like people like really expressing their support. So we still cannot believe all of this. But I have to say, like, I'm hopeful that also, like, if people are here of your attendees of the event, like, I hope it inspires you to also think about, like, maybe your next startup, how could that help people in developing countries, people who are maybe not the affluent, or people who might be, investors in cryptocurrencies. How might you actually create something that's inclusive of people who are, just still on a feature phone? And this is something that I hope a lot of people will actually take this as a kickstart of, like, yes, we can actually use something like blockchain to help people.
Absolutely. That was actually, it's funny that you say that, because that was actually what initially inspired me about Bitcoin many years ago. When I first learned of it was probably around 2012 or so. And what really, really struck me was that you could reach anyone in the most remote parts of the world on a feature phone and give them money. It was just like mind-boggling to me. So we do have a question that just came in from Wendy at Wild Tomorrow Fund. And she's asking, does the World Food Program accept donations in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? And for recipients of aid from World Food Program, do you send payments via crypto? And is there a technology gap? Does it require a smartphone?
Yeah, no, so right now, I mean, we don't yet accept donations via Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but like, I hear there's easy ways to transfer this into cash, like we accept all other payments. The other aspect, like one of the things that I co-founded an app called Share the Meal that uses some principles that you would want to see in like donation scale. Like it's called Share the Meal, and like for 80 cents you can feed a child for a day. Like it's works on iPhone and also on Android. And actually, like if you are donating, like if you do a monthly subscription, we match you with a family, so you actually know what's happening with the funds that you have donated. Doesn't need blockchain for that, but like there's definitely the vision, for instance, also to potentially integrate Share the Meal with building blocks that you've seen in terms of like people who are actually going into stores and purchase food. Now, right now, we don't use cryptocurrencies to actually do the cash out. So the way the system works is like people have, like the individual refugees, they would have wallets on Ethereum. So we essentially just settled, they would have the balance on their accounts if you want. And we settle the invoice with the retailers once per week. And this has to do with, because as World Food Program, as UN agency, we also, I mean, we go into conversations with, the national governments, finance ministry, the central bank. And so far that actually has proven to be one of the success factors of the program, because it still allows for like, the government to have the control of the final transfer, while they also are okay with the KYC requirements for the cash transfers that we are using for the refugees.
Wow, very interesting, very like absolutely revolutionary to be working with this technology in these ways. I'm so inspired. We have one more question from Kieran Mitchell. He says, I see you're worried about the future trend of hunger. Why has hunger been decreasing, and what are the factors that are reversing the trend?
So it's, I mean, we as the world are actually making progress, and this is a combination of like, why has the long-term trend been positive? It's like economic development, it's technologies, it's also like the ability, like definitely also aid programs, but also governments taking action, like, but also entrepreneurship. So like we do see that there is like a steady increase of living conditions, and including like, if you think about like people can leapfrog development steps now with technology. So like while you may have needed like a landline phone in the past, now you can use a mobile phone, or you could use a smartphone, and we see more and more of that happening, like people having access to smartphones. And then you have an entrepreneur in a village, in a remote area somewhere in a developing country. So like there's lots of opportunities. What has been the biggest setbacks is one driver has been conflict. So, and you see this in the media, like Syria, you see this South Sudan, Yemen, like all this big conflict that you hear about in the media, that drives like numbers of hungry people, because people who might have had an income, all of a sudden they are, you know, uprooted, no longer have a future. And most recently, unfortunately, it's COVID-19. It's the socioeconomic factors. When you think about that, like in a lot of developed countries, there might be, you know, stimulus programs, there might be aid programs for people. In a lot of development countries, if you're just living, you're trading, you're going to a market in a informal sector, you actually might have an income right now, but if the market is closed, you lose all your income and you have no savings. So that all of a sudden, while you had an income before, you fall into hunger. So these effects are really severe, and like it's actually affecting, like we're forecasting that the number of acutely hungry people, so people that are at risk of dying from starvation, are increasing from 135 million people to 270 million people by the end of the year. So it's really drastic numbers that we're talking about also. But you know, I do want to say, like, there is so many opportunities, and like, while we may not be able to change COVID, while we may not be able to change like all the conflicts, and we should try to do that, there is still positive opportunities for entrepreneurs, for technology to actually help wherever we can do that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We have run out of time. There's one more question in the Q&A. Gregor, sorry, maybe you can switch over to Slack or catch Bernhard in another channel, but we really appreciate you so much being here today, Bernhard. It's a true honor to have you, and congratulations again on the Nobel and all of the interesting work you've been doing for many years.
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.